Are you familiar with the name Napoleon? As a French revolutionary and unique strategist, he led numerous wars to victory and greatly influenced the prosperity of the country. Today, let's take a look into Napoleon's life, a life full of both glory and turbulence. In the year 1769, Napoleon was born into a family of 12 children as the fourth child. Napoleon is best known for his unusual tactics, and his talents were seen from an early age. At 10 years old, he majored in artillery at the Army Academy and graduated from the school from what would normally take 4 years in just 11 months. When he was a student, he was known to be short-tempered and impatient, and thus could not get along with other students. In the midst of all this, at the age of 24, he joined the siege of Toulon as part of the French Revolutionary Army. This was an attempt to recapture the port town suppressed by the counter-revolutionary army. At the time, Toulon was proud of its iron walls, and the Revolutionary Army was repeatedly defeated by reckless attacks. It was then that Napoleon suggested a strategy to his superiors, to first capture 2 highlands that could be aimed at the city, and then to shoot them with a cannon. With this success, at the age of 24, he quickly gained the position of brigade commander, equivalent to major general, and was instantly celebrated as a young hero in France. Even after, Napoleon continued to make great achievements one after another. In 1795, a rebellion took place in Paris. Even in this rebellion, best known as the Vendémiaire Rebellion, Napoleon showed great rage in action. Paul, the commander assigned to suppress the rebellion, decided to hire Napoleon and put him in a position of power. With a proven track record in the previous operations, Napoleon was assigned as deputy and was entrusted with full practical control of the suppression and command. With the position of commander, he succeeds in suppressing the city with a bold operation of scattering grape-shot bombs in the city area where many ordinary citizens lived. With this achievement, he quickly rose to the rank of General of Division, Lieutenant General. After the event, Napoleon, who was appointed as the commander in the capture of Italy, continuously demonstrated his unique brain strategies and won consecutive victories day by day. As a result, with the obtained vast lands in northern Italy and a great amount of loot, he was enthusiastically welcomed in Paris. Even after, Napoleon and his army continued to thrive and could not be stopped. They landed in Egypt, which was an important base for Italy, and won a splendid victory. However, an unexpected situation occurred thereafter. The French fleet was wrecked by the British fleet led by Nelson, a man who is said to be the greatest hero in British history in the seas of northern Egypt. As a result, Napoleon's army was isolated in Egypt. Then, with a proposal from Britain, an alliance was formed in neighboring countries known as the First Coalition. This was an anti-France alliance, and with the absence of Napoleon, France was put in great danger. Furthermore, the land of northern England, which was once under France, was conquered back, and an increasing call among the French people to evacuate the current government occurred. After hearing this, Napoleon left many of his troops in Egypt and returned to France with only a few of his aides. Napoleon could have been executed for national treason and for deserting under enemy fire, but the people were delighted to welcome the hero's return. Napoleon then teamed up with one of the country's leading aristocrats to create a coup. He then ended the current government to create and establish a new consul government. He put himself in the first territory and gained substantial dictatorship in the #1 position in France. Upon becoming the French ruler, Napoleon continued to accelerate his victories and made many big wins one after another. He regained northern Italy and destroyed the First Coalition. Then he signed a treaty with the only remaining country of Britain, and peace was regained. The long-running war was over. After putting an end to the war abroad, Napoleon shifted his focus onto domestic issues. He revived the industries that were once stopped due to the effects of the revolution. He focused on education, as well as national taxation, legislation, and traffic. In 1800, the Bank of France was established, which continues to this day. In 1804, he created the Napoleonic Code, which has had a great influence on the current civil law. The ideas of the code is very modern, and the most well-known influential ones include equality before the law of all, freedom of religion, and freedom of economic activity. However, after becoming the first consul, Napoleon was often put at the risk of assassination. Because of this, the young hero was put on the path of dictatorship. And at the age of 35, Napoleon gives himself the status of king amongst all kings, a status of supreme emperor. This emphasizes that he is the king of not only France, but above all neighboring nations. At his coronation, where a ritual to receive a crown from the Pope is usually conducted, Napoleon wore the crown himself in front of the Pope, and his actions shocked many. With the sacrifice of many deaths throughout the country, France won the wars using her great powers and widely conquered Central Europe. In order to win over the last strong enemy, Britain, a ban on trade with the United Kingdom was issued to neighboring countries. However, this triggered a major rise of complaints from the people. The United Kingdom was then the center of trade due to their advancement in their factory facilities. France was not able to supply the replacement of the United Kingdom. And finally, Russia breaks the issue from France and resumes trade with Britain. Napoleon then leads a massive troop of 600,000 into Russia. Upon Russia's realization that there was no chance of winning France if fought head-on, they took advantage of the vast lands of Russia and repeatedly retreated while burning the French army's supplies and food in aims to exhaust and weaken the French army. With the addition of Russia's frigid cold weather, by the time the French army reached the capital Moscow, the number of 600,000 soldiers had already dropped to less than 200,000. Still, Napoleon managed to defeat the Russian army and enter the capital. It seemed that he could finally get a supply of food. However, it was that night that the Russian army set Moscow on fire that continued to burn the capital for 3 consecutive days. As a result, food and materials could not be obtained, and Napoleon decided to withdraw, realizing that the expedition had failed. As soon as he withdrew, however, Russia made an attack on the French army, and only about 5,000 soldiers survived. This resulted in only 1% of the French army surviving. Due to this great defeat, anti-Napoleonic movements emerged in many countries under French control. The countries formed a second coalition and developed into a large-scale war between France and neighboring countries. France was then finally defeated in this war. France's army of only 70,000 soldiers was cornered, surrounded by 500,000 enemy soldiers, and was put in a desperate situation. Napoleon made attempts to use his emperor's position for trading, but the betrayal of his confidant led him to his abdication. Later, he was exiled to a small island called Elba as a small lord of the island. With the absence of Napoleon, a meeting was held in Europe by the leaders of each country. However, the meeting failed in directing the countries, and this greatly worried the public. Meanwhile, in 1815, 46-year-old Napoleon escaped from Elba. He then achieved his reinstatement in Paris. However, after being completely defeated by the Allied forces, Napoleon's reinstatement ended in roughly 100 days, 95 days to be exact. Napoleon was then imprisoned in the isolated island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic Ocean, where his life came to an end on May 5, 1821. He was 51 years old when he passed away due to stomach cancer. Now, that was a turbulent, glorious life and then downfall of the French hero Napoleon. His extraordinary tactics and political activities were appreciated for posterity, but the series of these wars killed more than 2 million people. Despite his victories, he receives much criticism from his home country and from neighboring countries abroad.